are successful, and then the ones who are the elite people.
Do you think that's what the difference is of what makes somebody good versus great?
Absolutely. The difference between good and great is always the mindset, the approach, your ability to sustain something over time. Some people will see have a great season, have a great couple seasons, but when we look at the people who are really elite, who have legacies in athletics, it's because they've sustained it over a period of time, both in their body, meaning being well, staying healthy, but it takes a lot to sustain that level of success mentally for a long period of time.
I want to open up a conversation about this because so many people can get there for a moment, right?
Yeah.
But they don't stay there, which is a completely different thing.
Right.
And we want to, we got a lot of viewer questions. Thank you all of you who submitted questions for us, because one of the things a lot of people have questions about is self-sabotage. And so we're kind of going to go there in a moment. But for athletes specifically, what is stopping people from sustaining a really good career where they might have that good game or that good season, but it doesn't last?
Right. Because we see that where they're able to achieve a certain level of success. Very often, maybe the trauma that happened to them, their situation when they were young, maybe grew up without a father, had adversity that they struggled with. That's part of what propelled them and gave them the hunger to succeed. But using that now as the fire for everything, it burns out. It isn't sustainable. So having a sustainable foundation for your progress, for your growth, and really being supported in ways that not a lot of people offer themselves, that type of support, is what really makes it sustainable over time. And it's the difference between I had limited success to I had sustainable success, because I had support, because I had a foundation that allowed for it to continue. And not being in like maintenance energy either, not saying like now I'm here, now I have to stay here. It's having the mindset of continually getting better and progressing and growing without it, distracting or keeping other areas of your life from flourishing as well.
So you talk a little bit then, so what is your approach to that? And I know you mentioned rituals as well, so what does that entail?
Consistent support is the best thing that I can ever prescribe for an athlete or anybody who's performing at an elite level, and not giving up on the things that work just because things are going well. I think that's something that, whether it's athletics or any part, we do the things that we know work until we get to a certain point. And then maybe you relax, you say, I don't need to be doing these things anymore. Maybe I don't need to be investing in these coaches anymore, or this form of support. And you release that, and then you start to see a dip in performance. You start to see a dip in happiness, fulfillment. So consistent support, as much as anything, is something I can't speak enough to.
And I can attest to that as a coach, I always tell people don't stop on success, because so many people will fight for the success and then they'll get it, and then they get complacent and they start taking it for granted, and the very things that led to their success they want to drop.
Or do you think it's also then a fear of success, like once they get it, or a fear of keeping it, and that's where then that mental approach
and that's where the self-sabotage comes in. If you subconsciously are not okay with success, you may allow yourself to have it. Some people do. Some people will just push through that. But to sustain it, the subconscious has to be involved. And when self-sabotage begins to happen is when you begin to out-achieve what your subconscious is okay with. Either you don't believe it's safe for you to continue to have this level of success, or at a deeper level, you don't feel like you're worthy of it. And so that's when people start to push away the things that some people won't even create that. Some people won't get to that level because the subconscious stuff is so prevalent in their life. Some people are able to push beyond that, but if you don't push beyond that with a foundation, then that's when you come backwards.
I think this is such a universal number for everybody who's watching today, because whether you're in the field of athletics or fitness or not, that phrase just resonated with me about out-achieving where your subconscious is at. And I see this happen for people as a coach all the time, where they create something momentarily on the outside that they don't really believe on the inside. So let's just dive into this self-sabotage conversation. Again, so many of you submit questions, and we love getting your questions. So Dawn asked a question I think a lot of people have. She said, when you can feel self-sabotage happening, and I think so many people can. They're on a date, they're at an audition, they know it's happening. How do you stop it in the tracks, so to speak, is what she wanted to know, and I'm sure so many people are wondering.
And I always call bull on people who say, like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, it may be subconsciously happening, but you can feel the fact that you are contracting in some way, or you're starting to push away what was for you. It could be on a date where everything's going well. It could be in a relationship where you hit that 3-month mark and you start like acting differently or sabotaging it. And for my athletes, it's reaching that level of success and then beginning to do things that don't logically make sense. Why would you be doing the things that don't work for you? And it's because that subconscious foundation isn't there to be able to sustain it or to move through that. So the first thing is awareness. You have awareness that, like, I am in a self-sabotaging pattern right now, or I'm starting to do that. So know what your triggers are, know what the indications are. But then also making sure that you're doing the foundational work. It's not enough to just say, I'm doing this, stop. Have a foundation for why it's okay for you to stop, why it's okay for you to continue to move forward and to elevate your life, knowing that it's safe for you to continue down this path, knowing that you're worthy of the success, not only that you have, but that's on the other layer. I mean, if you have that foundation of knowing, in terms of your identity, in terms of your purpose, that what I desire, that this success is for me, why would you sabotage it? Why would you push it away? So many people just try to willpower their way through the self-sabotage, and it's not effective. It doesn't work if you don't have a foundation behind it.
How do you, so I'm sure viewers might have the same question that I have, and that's that, how do you actually do that? How do you get that mindset right? How do I know that, you know, I'm living my purpose and I'm not sabotaging myself? It's one thing to be aware of it, but like, how do I change that mindset?
Work with a coach. The easy answer. No, there really is a benefit to having someone in your life who can see the things that you don't. And that's, our ego is great at kind of masking what is obvious to other people. Our ego is great at kind of, you know, telling us stories and things that actually don't serve us and are protecting us and just trying to keep us in that same place. So there is such value in having support and having someone who can see the things that you aren't seeing. And then from there, obviously, it's mental fitness, it's emotional fitness. It's developing an ability to see and recognize something that you're going down a pattern that you don't want to go down to, and put a stop on it. Pause, cancel, hit whatever, and ground yourself in the foundation that this is safe for me. You ask yourself, what would I be believing right now in order to allow me to sabotage myself? I would be believing the success I'm creating isn't for me. I would be believing that the success isn't safe. I would be believing that I'm not worthy of all the things that I'm creating. And then ground yourself back into the truth, which is, this is for you. The success is for you. The success is safe for you to have, and you're worthy and deserving of this. And once you know that, then it's easy to shift into the truth. Truth always washes away the illusion.
So when it's happening, stop yourself.
Right.
Say, I'm sabotaging myself.
Yes.
This is the pattern. And I am now deciding today that that is not the truth.
Right.
And my truth is that I deserve this and that I'm worthy of this success.
Yes. Awareness and then a decision. And if you can't practice that on your own, if you struggle like most people, and there's no shame in having a coach or someone to you see that. I think that's the stigma that we're constantly working to change, is that having support is a bad thing. It means you're weak. It means that you can't do it on your own. Bull. Like it's so valuable to have support. Why do you want to waste the mental energy of trying to figure this out on your own when you can very easily have one person that shifts everything and helps you to understand the reason why you're doing what you're doing and prevent yourself loads of hurt, loads of sabotage, and impacting everybody that's around you as well.
Well, and I think this is an interesting point because so many people surround themselves with yes men, right? When you're doing well, there's a
Especially
lot of
athletes.
money rolling in, especially people in this city. It's easy to surround yourself with yes men where everybody is just backing up any decision you make. And so I think this brings up a good point, is what is the value of having somebody that can call you out and say, hey, this weird thing that you're doing over here is probably not good for you.
Right. I won't say what Tim Grover calls them, but it's not a nice term. It's the people in your life that are essentially there to hold on to things for you, that they serve no purpose. They're not adding value to life. They're not really supporting you. They're just riding your coattails. And that's what we see with a lot of athletes, is especially ones that came up from, you know, rough upbringings or whatever, it's family and friends that are around them. And if I'm riding your coattails and it doesn't benefit in me in any way to say, hey, listen, like, you're messing things up right now. Like, you're going down a bad path. Something needs to change. I'm not going to say anything. So it's the value of having somebody in your life who has no agenda in your life and who really will say, like, this is not going well. I can say the things to you that other people will not say because this is my job and my responsibility. And we have that sort of relationship. I have that sort of relationship with my athletes where I can say, pause, this is not working. I understand everybody else is okay with this, but I see you spiraling, as we say. It's time to put a stop on that and do something different.
So actually we have somebody who wrote in, an anonymous person, who said, how do you stay in a good state when the people around you are not? And I think that's really relevant to what you were just saying.
There's family. Family. There's I mean, it's
You're
true.
right. Welcome
Thanksgiving
to
dinner. Right.
Yes.
That's literally the inner work. I mean, you can fake certain things. You can willpower your way through certain things. You can pretend that you can conjure up these images that everything are okay on the outside. But if you're not being supported with the inner game, if you are not working on your own inner game, then things are going to be there. And it's having boundaries around the people around you, but it's also intentionally putting people in your life who are there to serve your highest and best good, rather than the people who are maybe just there to ride along.
So then do you cut those people out, or you try to elevate, as you say, and they will rise to you?
I mean, ideally, you elevate and they come with you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I say this for people in relationships, unrelated to my athletes. If you focus on your elevation, it will become painfully obvious the people in your life who are in alignment and in integrity with that, and those people will fall off, or the contrast, the discrepancy there will be so clear that it's an easy decision.
Doesn't it? I find it happens so much more automatically than people think.
Right.
Because people will ask me, well, how do I get rid of these friends that aren't serving me? How do I distance myself? And I say, listen, if you rise, people will vanish. People will suddenly not get it. People will suddenly, I find that happens automatically a lot of the time.
It does, because if you raise your vibration, you raise your frequency, people who are not at that vibration and frequency, they're not going to know how to meet you. They're not going to be there. They will fall off. And if they're meant to come, then they raise with you. And it's a beautiful, everybody wins when you raise and you take your whole family with you. And that's a lot of things that my athletes sometimes struggle with is, I don't want to leave people behind. People from the neighborhood, people from the family, but it really doesn't serve you to stay where you are and hold back your elevation, your growth, your success to make other people feel okay.
Well, good.
No, I was just going to say on that note, then who are athletes that you feel like embody this great mentality, who are that inspire you?
So the ones who really are in touch with their inner game, it's a stark contrast sometimes between the ones who are elite. I think LeBron James does a beautiful job of this.
He's incredible. I couldn't agree more.
He's amazing in terms of his family. He's amazing in terms of the access that he has to family, friends, taking care of people that he does in Akron. Really, has not held back his own success, but has not left anybody behind.
And a lot of those people that he grew up with, he now has given jobs to.
Right.
They run certain aspects of his business.
Right. And you don't see it impacting him in the same way as some people putting people in charge of their finances that have no business running their finances. He does a beautiful job of it, and this is part of what inspires me about certain athletes is he uses his platform for good, not just in terms of his money and finances and resources, but he will call out Donald Trump. He will speak about social change. He will commentate on things that people like a Michael Jordan who didn't want to offend people who bought his shoes. There's a very stark contrast between the LeBron James and the people who, Jordan may be watching this, Kobe may be watching this at some point, but there's a difference between those who have been killers in their field and those who are killers on the court, but really do have a good foundation for their life, for their family, for their spirituality, all of that.
And I love that you said that. Honestly, we usually do one viewer question, but we just have so many people.
It's just actually lining up.
They're good questions that are lining up. But
No
somebody said, somebody with an athletics background said, I know that athletes often are very good at discipline because they had to. They had to be up at 4 a.m. for those practices. They had to put in the work. But then that's precisely the problem is it doesn't translate to all areas of life. So the question was, how do you get the strengths that you have in one area to really translate to the other areas? And I think what we're hearing is, this is why people come to you, is so that they're not just a baller on the court, but in their life.
Right, and we see that where a person is extremely disciplined. You use me as an example, use Jordan as an example, use Tiger Woods as an example, who is an absolute killer, like ninja discipline, but went through tons of scandal because you're spending all this energy and willpower holding it together in this area of your life, and then when you escape that, you have scandal, you have women, you have DUI problems, you have all these things. So it's about having a foundation that isn't based just upon the discipline and willpower that's worked in those areas. And this is a fear that my athletes have sometimes is like, if I go away from what's worked up until now, can I sustain my success along with having a happy and successful life? And we like to say sometimes that how you do one thing is how you do all things, but it's really not true when it comes to discipline and what people at the top feel, is because sometimes it doesn't translate into every area. So this is where having support helps you to translate that into where what's successful for you in one area isn't also detrimental to you in another.
Great.
So we have a speed round. Are we ready for the speed round?
Speed round.
So we're just going to read off back and forth, and if you don't have an answer, we're going to let you say pass. These aren't like intense Andy Cohen
That
spelled
feels-
tea questions. So you
feels
can
like a cop-out
maybe
if I
we
you
will.
can pass. Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't listen to podcasts, not to tease one of the questions, but we're going to go through them. Okay. Song on your playlist right now.
The Demi Lovato song, Sorry Not Sorry. It's a little old, but it's a daily thing.
Okay. Demi Lovato. What's the best book you've read recently?
Best book I've read recently. Relentless by Tim Grover. I didn't agree with a lot of things in it, but it really evoked a lot of things for the work that I do.
Love it.
Favorite podcast?
I don't listen to podcasts.
Okay. Well, we'll have to start with
I don't consume a lot of anything, but if anybody I know is doing something, then I'll invest in that.
Got it. Okay, what's the last movie you saw?
What's the last movie we saw? I can't even think of one.
Okay.
I don't watch a lot of movies.
Been a while?
What was it? Oh, I saw, what's it called? Deadpool 2 the other night.
Good?
Yeah. It's excellent. It's really
like the
good.
first
A lot of like gore commentary, but really good. Saw it with my 15-year-old daughter. That's kind of weird, but it was still a lot of fun.
Sound like a cool dad.
Favorite hangout spot in LA?
Can I give this away? I don't want a lot of people to know about this.
Wow.
Okay. Well,
I will.
give us a tease. or-
Tramp Stamp Grannies.
Como say what?
Tramp Stamp Grannies. It's a piano bar.
Ooh.
I love this.
Oh my God. Have
we
you been?
need to go.
Yes.
Well, I've gone like a dozen
Right.
times. We need to
Okay.
go. Tramp
I don't want to
Stamp
give it
Grannies.
away to everybody so that everybody
Right.
shows up and there's a line and we can't get it anymore, but it's fantastic.
Right. But
Okay.
if there is a line, we started
And
it.
this is an endorsement.
And you're not getting paid.
Not getting paid.
Thing you're most proud of?
It's my elevation. Elevation in every area of my life, my purpose. Obviously, I'm proud of being a dad and a husband, but to really live my life on my terms and to step into what's for me, that's my greatest sense of pride right now.
Amazing.
And I am going to throw in, since you mentioned husband thing, our next episode actually involves Nick's wife.
Right.
They are such a power couple in the entrepreneurial space, so that's coming next. But one more question for you. If you had one message for the entire world and you had 30 seconds to speak to every person one message, what
Right.
would you say?
Know and understand that you are worthy just because. It doesn't have to be earned and it can never be taken away from you. You were put here for a specific purpose. Your job, your responsibility is to discover what that is and to live it.
I love that message. Amen.
Thank you, Nick.
My pleasure.
And thank you for hanging out with us today. Again, we will be back with Courtney for episode 2 of City of Angels. So we'll see you guys back here soon.
See you soon. Bye. Hercules.
Well done.
Super fun.
Great time.
Beautiful. We're going to take a couple quick pictures.
Okay. And then you're gonna.
Cut the recording. Stopped it.
I'm gonna have to change my shirt.
All right, here we go. One quick picture here.
Changing your full outfit.
Oh, I'm
Here,
changing.
guys.
Are we sitting here? Or
I don't
coming
know.
in?
Camera, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are all three. Yeah, here we go. One. Beautiful. All right. All right. So welcome. Good to meet you.
Amazing. Okay, let me go change real quick.
Wonderful. I'm changing as well.
Okay. Take this off.
Oh, I forgot about that with the.
Right? I anticipated you were going to wear all black. I was like, I am
Is there
too.
anything in particular?
Courtney, are you ready?
Ready. All right, let me just.
I remember I saw a movie like 2
I know, I was like, he just saw one. Wait.
She just went to Beyonce.
Oh, okay.
So it looked like a recording to throw answers for me.
All right. Come on.
Hold up signs.
Good meeting you.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Here's, babe, here's my phone. Oh, I guess you can log in.
Can you stream it on your phone?
Yeah. Facebook will be on,
Those Stephens.
So if you want to Facebook, you want to use his Facebook, you want to log into your own
You want yours
Facebook?
again?
log in on mine.
Yeah,
So
log in on
Janet, go ahead and log in onto her Facebook.
So many